All right, all right. We are back. Thanks for joining us again. If I remember correctly, it's week 4, and we're happy that you are still joining us as we discuss different topics, different ideas, different viewpoints. So we're just waiting on my co-host, so I thought I'd do some housekeeping things before we get really rolling, and I'm going to check to see if he is texting me or anything. So yeah, this is our 4th week, and we are, trying to share information with you, the latest topics, of course, and what we're all going through, and some real action steps to take. And it's all live, so you never know what's going to happen, like technical difficulties and all of that. I know he's ready, and he was ready to go, and he just had to reboot his computer or something. So I'm going to just kind of see who's on with us. We've got Elizabeth. Oh my gosh, you were at work until 4 a.m. and you're still with us here now. So thank you, Elizabeth. I really appreciate that. Okay, it looks like Mauricio is ready to join us. Woohoo!
Back in. Sorry about that. Jeez.
That's okay. Hey, this is why we need a producer down the road.
Eventually, we will get one.
I know. I can't wait.
How are you? Sorry about that.
No worries. Hey, listen.
I even fired up the other computer. I was like, all right, we got to get backup. I got the phone ready. We're gonna do this. We're not missing the show.
That's right. That's right. And we have Elizabeth and we have Veronica with us. So just wanted to say, hey, thanks for joining us again. We've got our regulars now. But this is our 4th week. So this is like a milestone. Woohoo!
1 month. There you go.
Congratulations to us.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah. Well, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And not only that, but just it takes guts to do these kind of things. It takes a lot.
Can you see the sweat on my brow every time? Like, yeah. Hi, Ellen. Thank you. And Suzanne. Wow. Thank you. Hey, I'm really happy that you're all joining us. And for those of you that don't know us, we'll do a quick intro. I'm Carmen Milagro. I'm a confidence strategist. I am a CBD educator. I am a writer. I'm an entrepreneur artist. And
I love it. I love that. I love it. Yeah, it's a good one. I like it.
It's kind of like most of us that are entrepreneurs, we walk in 2 different lanes and, kind of thing. 2 seems to be the number that we have in common here. But I also want to introduce our weekly co-host. He is Mauricio Mejia, one of Silicon Valley's top entrepreneurs, I might add. And you've got a lot of titles too.
And thank you. I appreciate that. I try not to boast myself too much like that. I'm normal and human like everyone else. But I just have a lot of responsibilities. That was kind of what we were talking about before in the back, in the
green room.
In the green room, in the backstage is, we have to make sure that we value our time. And we have to put a value on that so that we know what we invest our time. But yeah, I just launched my new company May 1st, CalX. So that one's got me really, really busy. It's a spin-off my old company. This one has no partners. It's me 100%. And sometimes those are the best things that you have to do is when you branch off. But in other ventures, you definitely want to have, well, I don't want to say definitely because those things can change too, but you want to have a good partnership. You want to have a good team with you. And sometimes these teams don't work. So you have to branch off and continue or pivot. Right. And really that's kind of what we're doing here. We've been pivoting and being able to share our experience with everyone that joins us. So I have actually a call tomorrow with Veronica. I have her scheduled.
Good. We're gonna do you called her out last week, so I guess it worked.
Yeah, we're gonna do some work. We're gonna make something happen. So I'm excited to do that. Because I think she has something that we can definitely build. Right. Sometimes we need to do something. We got to get unstuck from our normal routine. So sometimes that's why when you bring in either a coach or a strategist or a mentor or a partner.
Or a partner, right? I was going to say. So, and everything that we're sort of highlighting right here is really going to drill down on what we want to talk about today, a little bit more, like diving in. And, you know, I have to just say I'm really excited that we have so many ladies on right now, because usually it's the other way around. So we're doing something right, because that makes me feel really good. That is one of my passions, of course, is mentoring and helping and supporting and or partnering with other women. But, you know, right now, Mauricio, we try to connect. We're both really super busy, but we try to connect and kind of get the theme of the show beforehand. But all of this is, you know, it's not scripted. I have notes, of course, but all of this is like, we're having these real conversations. And what's happened for me, and maybe it's happening for you too, is in between our shows, we may not get a lot of questions during the live, although we do get a lot of comments, which is great. But I'm getting a lot of offline conversations and comments. And I think it's really interesting because clearly none of us, I don't care what realm you're in the socioeconomic, you know, arena, but none of us have ever experienced anything like this before. Well, people my age, we have experienced other, you know, downturns in the economy. We've experienced other, you know, recessions and all of that, but nothing like this. And I think what's really uniquely disturbing about all of this, what I'm finding, what I'm feeling, is that every single person is being bombarded by all these mixed messages, and people are stressed and they're frightened and they're frustrated and they don't know where to go or who to turn and who's telling what, and it's all made up stuff. And how do you sift through all that? I think that's something to really watch out for, because there is so much conflicting information. And so what I thought we would focus on today is the CEO mentality. And what I mean by that is, you know, CEOs, in my opinion, right, they're leaders. Like you said earlier, you've got a lot of responsibility. So you have to be very cognizant. Hi, James. Thanks for joining us. You have to be really cognizant of how you spend your time and how you're pivoting and what you're doing in order to, because it's a domino effect. Yep. So I think that it's really quite possible for people to take those entrepreneurial CEO attitudes and strategies and apply them to their own personal life, the struggles that they're, you know, encountering now. And so I wanted to start with you. I mean, I think that when a lot of the questions I'm getting offline, it's about finances and all of the, you know, I don't have income. I've lost all my business. I don't have a stimulus check. I mean, all of those things, right? I think that those are things where it makes you feel helpless, and perhaps a change in the attitude can help. Maybe not fix everything all at once or immediately, but surely that becoming the CEO of your own personal financial struggles, like, you got to think like a CEO. And when you think of CEO, what's the definition of CEO in your opinion? And how can we help everyone who's watching and who's with us today sort of start to reframe their approach to deal with what's happening today?
So the first thing, and it's a great point, I think that we address it sooner than later, but the first thing is CEO doesn't stand for Chief Executive Officer. It stands for Chief Everything Officer. So that means the buck stops with you, with us. And yes, we have to learn to be CEOs of ourselves first before we can be CEOs of other things. You know, I've shared with you in the past, Stedman is a mentor of mine, and he's taught me a lot of great things and has planted a lot of great seeds in my mind. And the first one that really resonates is, in order to lead others, you must learn to lead yourself first. And that's the truth. When you read his book, Identity Leadership, that's another, you'll get a lot of great nuggets out of that. And that's what happens here, is that in order to be that leader and to be able to make those decisions, it's an exercise. It's a daily exercise. It starts with your routines. What do you do when you get up? What's the first thing you do? You got to build these routines, so that when you go into the real world, or when you go out into the world, you have that decision skill ready to, it's sharpened. You got to practice every day. One of the things that I've realized right now, being quarantined, it's been hard for me, because one, I'm a hands-on. I'm a very interactive with my team. I've gone through a lot of changes. I shared that last week too, with a breakup in a partnership, where, we're talking big monies, and you have to learn that when you're building a business, or you want to become an entrepreneur, or if you have a job, people that have jobs too,
right,
you got to prepare for those rainy days. And these are one of those this is a storm. It's not even a rainy day. This is a big storm that has, put so many people out of work. So we have to pivot from that. So CEO, to me, it means you got to learn to manage. If that's really what you want to be, if you want to lead, you got to learn to really master it, and want to learn at all times. I mean, I'm learning every day. Right now, I've been reading more things. I've been learning. Like, there's a couple of things in my new company that I used to delegate because they knew it, and now I'm taking a lot of it more myself to learn it, so that I don't have to rely on people in case something like this happens. You don't get frozen without having the knowledge. So you, again, CEO is you have to know everything and anything that has to be business. So you're involved in it. I mean, I've heard of right now that our groups have been wiped out from companies because those groups they're not needed anymore, or it's not because there's nothing for them to do, so they can't. It's like a ship. They have to cut all the weight.
Mauricio, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're breaking up quite a bit again. You're kind of freezing up a little bit, so we missed that last point.
Okay.
Yeah, it's happening again.
So what I was. That's strange.
I know.
I don't know.
Shoot, it's happening again.
Happening here? Huh? We're gonna move back to the other.
Okay. All right.
Jump off, and then I'm going to jump back on.
So those of you that have joined us,
I'm going to jump off.
You got it. Those of you that have joined us,
give me a second. I'll jump into.
Okay. Well, we are live, and neither one of us is the technical gurus that we should be, but we will be one day. But those of you that have just joined us, thanks again. I'm Carmen Milagro, confidence strategist, and Mauricio Mejia, my co-host, is going to jump off and jump back on. But one of the things that we were talking about, which I really like what he said, is the definition of CEO is chief everything officer, especially when you're launching a company, when you are running your financial personal finances. I think it's really important to really think of things in a different way. And that's what I'd like to really get from Mauricio when he comes back. But I wanted to also share a story with you of something that really resonated and clicked for me many, many years ago. This whole idea of, employee versus entrepreneur, and they're two totally different things. I have to disagree with that because I've never lived my professional life that way. Even when I worked in the corporate world, I thought very much like an entrepreneur. And I was very fortunate that I was able to carve out my own positions within corporations because I thought way outside the box as an artist. That's just my nature. And so one of the things that I learned early on, though, was watching someone, a previous colleague, and what I learned from her has been invaluable. I probably learned this in my early 20s, and it was about the relationship. And I'm going to give you like an actual nugget here at the end of the story. It's about the relationship that you have with money and the relationship that you have with never giving up. And you hear this so often, entrepreneurs and people giving speeches all over the world. And there's always these blanket statements, dream big. Okay, great, dream big, but then what? You've got to be that person who is going to take these risks and know your numbers. Okay, great. But how do I do that? What is that mindset? What's that nugget that can help you get to those points, those milestones, those pivots, those changes? So watching this woman, now I've never been a salesperson, a commission-based salesperson. That's just not my personality. That's just not the way that I am wired. But I did learn something from her that changed my life. And what I'm going to share with you is this. I watched her, this process of never giving up. She spent about 10 hours one day in the office resubmitting this application for a client, and they wouldn't take it. And she would redo it again, and she would try something else. And I asked her, because she wasn't frustrated. Some people today, right now, in this application process for all these loans and all these different things that people have to apply for right now, they're giving up. They get frustrated, and rightly so. They're not getting the answers that they want. Welcome back, Mauricio. I'm just sharing a quick story about sort of this change that happened for me about the relationship with time and money, just what you had mentioned earlier.
Yep.
So I'll wrap this up. But what I witnessed was this woman who spent 10 hours to process this application for a client. Now, she was a commission-based salesperson. And the reason I see that is because it was very important. This is a key point. She finished, she got it through, her client was happy, the process had started. And I asked her, wow, that was incredible. I've never seen someone so committed, and she was on a mission to get this paperwork processed for her client. I said, I've watched you, because I used to spend 10, 12, 14, 16 hours in the same office. And she spent 10 hours trying to get this process. And I said, you could have been out there making sales calls and signing contracts. And she said, yeah, I could have. But I spent the last 10 hours because when this is approved, my commission check is $10,000. So what someone else may think is a waste of time and would have given up, her mindset was, well, I'll get this through, and my commission then is $10,000. That means I just made $1,000 per hour. And at that time, it was worth it to her. So I think, in my opinion, Mauricio, and we'll get back to what you were saying, in my opinion, if everyone who is not an entrepreneur, but if we as entrepreneurs share these mindsets and these attitudes so that maybe it'll sink in, maybe it will, trigger something, or a light bulb moment will happen for someone where, is it worth it to keep trying all this process for all these applications, the PPP loans and all of that? Well, when you think about it, it might be. If on the 6th hour you get that loan that you need right now to get you through this pandemic situation, think of that. And so I just wanted to share that story, because that was, I think it was 15 years ago, or probably longer, actually, because I was still in the corporate world. Yes, so it was longer than that. And it was such a mind-twisting moment, because at that moment, I hadn't thought about becoming an entrepreneur. I didn't think about leaving the corporate world, but I started applying that principle when I was an employee. And that's what's helping me today. So if you don't mind, Mauricio, and you could disagree with me, of course, but if you want to sort of recap what you were saying, and then we'll give everyone, some real steps that they can take during this crisis.
Well, I'm going to add to it. Can you hear me clearly? Burke?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. I'm going to add to what you just said. I think it's very important that people understand we all have entrepreneurship in us. It's just some people go all in, and when they hit that switch and you turn it on. Entrepreneurship it's what activates entrepreneurship is you want more in life. You want more out of the regular 9 to 5, where you wake up one day and you're like, is this it? I've given a company all these years, and is this all that I get? And you have to set up, you have to set a standard or a higher value for yourself. And that's why I said you have to value yourself. Some people value themselves at $15 an hour. Some people value themselves at 20, 30. I just got my new attorney bill, and my attorney, his hourly rate is $515 an hour. That's his value. That's the value. That's because you're paying for experience, knowledge. You're paying. You get for what you pay for. And that's really what it comes down to. Everyone that wants to be an entrepreneur or do better in their lives, the real question is what do you value your time? That time that you're out there working, what is that value?
Right.
And that's really where you start to get some answers for yourself, because you start thinking, okay, well, I'm not, if I want to have these, if I want to be able to live in the Bay Area right now, it's going to take me X amount of dollars to live here, because no matter what, the quality of life is changing here because it's getting more expensive to live here. So, you have to make X amount of dollars, and you have to make that kind of you have to make that your target, so that you can reach it. Right. For me, I've always thought bigger, because if I can't reach that, at least that's what I'm aspiring for, and I know that I'll get near it. If I reached it, that means that I need to set higher goals for myself. So at a young age, we talk about my story, at a young age, growing up with nothing, I wanted to have something. So I wanted to be a millionaire, and I didn't know when it was going to happen. I knew it was going to happen. So at age 25, I hit my first goal. Well, when you hit that, then you look back, you're like, well, being up here, having that responsibility, now it's the maintenance. So you have to continue it, because once you get to that marker, okay, you got there, great. But how do you maintain and stay there now? And then that's it. I don't want to say it's easy, but you have to understand that you have to continue. You have to be consistent with making hitting that mark. So, and then for me, it was like, well, I want more, because once you hit 1, you want 2, and then you want 3, then you want 4, and then it's not the greed, it's the challenge. And then you're like, and then at the same time, it just comes with responsibilities and challenges. So there was that song back in the day with the Notorious B.I.G. And his whole Puff Daddy group, the whole more money, more problems. Well, I don't want to say necessarily it's problems, but it's more responsibility.
Right.
And that's, again, going back to what we talked about earlier. It's I have to put a value on my. For me, I have to be making $1 million a month in order to cover the responsibilities that I have. And that's not $1 million for myself. That's what I have to make in order to take care of my responsibilities. There's a difference, and people have to understand that that's the difference. Making $1 million, okay, but you have expenses, you have cost of good. That doesn't mean you put $1 million in your pocket and you forget everybody else. No, it comes with a lot of work. The other thing is I don't want to say everybody, that's a too general statement, but people say they want to be something or do something bigger in their life, but they have to also understand that it comes with a lot of hard work. And then they realize that with all the hard work, man, it's just like, and then the little voices in their head, do I really want this? Or mañana, I'll do this later, blah, blah, blah. And then they start creating those bad habits. Once you're in, you're in. And right now, life is giving us a perfect example, like what we're dealing with. Right. People that are business owners, there's a couple of people here that are business owners that are on our, they understand that this is what sharpens our blade. This is what sharpens our mindset and our skill set. We have to make it happen. We don't have a choice. People depend on us. So we depend on ourselves. So we have to make sure that we keep it going. So
and it goes back to you. Whoops, sorry. There's a echo.
I see you. I don't hear anything. I'm good.
Okay. It's coming back at me, so I'll just, sorry about that.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that we had started this conversation with is the fact that as a CEO, if you take these strategies and these attitudes and apply them to your life right now. So one of the things that, you know, when I learned this so many years ago, watching this woman, how she figured out that for her, it was worth investing 10 hours of her time to get that $1,000 an hour return, right? And so I do think that, as crazy as that sounds, even if you're not an entrepreneur, but if you have that mindset to deal with the problems and the challenges and the situations that we're all in right now, it will help you. And one of the examples that I will give you is one thing that I took from that as well. Not only value your time, you're the CEO of your company or you're the CEO of your life. What is your time worth? But also that you are somebody's client, whether you're paying your car insurance or your business insurance. And if someone doesn't value you as a client, then why are you staying with them? I mean, because when a CEO sees something that isn't working, what's that responsibility? You fix it, you talk to some, if it's a person, you talk to them, you encourage them, you figure out, you know, or you just let it go. So one of the things that I do, and I think this is really important right now that everyone can do, is shop your vendors.
Yes.
We talked about, I think, in week 1,
negotiate.
But negotiation doesn't always mean settle for something that doesn't benefit you. Sometimes it's, okay, I'm out. I just fired one of my insurance, what was it? Oh, my car insurance people. I fired them. They weren't willing, they didn't care enough about me to work with me during this situation. And I had been with them since I was 15 years old. So I found a new one. I found a new insurance carrier that I'm saving like $195 a month.
Yeah.
So as a CEO, the other thing, and maybe you can expound on this, Mauricio, is when income is not what it used to be, you can still make money if you cut your expenses. That's right. The CEO mentality. Why don't we teach kids? Why don't we teach people to think like this for their life? Because that's exactly what I just did. And I'm sure you have a story like that as well.
Yeah. No, I did it the other day. I was I just started figuring out, you know what, let me start calling some of my vendors. And I mean, right off the bat, the first one you want to do is you call your cable network. I mean, right off, I saved thousands of dollars on that one yearly. When I say thousands, is when you calculate it over 12 months,
right?
And I got the same service, and just realized that I didn't really need all that stuff. The only thing I really wanted to make sure I had good, it was my internet here at home. You have to negotiate with vendors. I mean, luckily for me though too, I'm also disciplined where I don't create a lot of debt. I like to pack light or carry lightweight, because I've been there in the past where, I was over leveraged myself, and I created so much debt for myself that at the end I'm like, I don't want to carry that stress. I want to keep things simple, and light, so that when moments like this happen, it's not a big shock, because these are shocks. This sends shock waves into people, and if you're not used to it, or if I don't want to say if you're not used to it, if you're not prepared for it, you're gonna feel it, and it's gonna take you down that rabbit hole real quick. So for me, it's I've learned from my past experience. 2008, 9, and 10 were a very good lesson, where I learned some lessons at 12 years ago or 10 years ago. Yeah. And, and when they came, my instinct kicked in and said, okay, you got to pivot here. There's no panic. But it was like, okay, we got to pivot. We got to shift gears here. And then we got to reshuffle our cards, and focus and refocus, and move forward. No looking back, because you start looking back, you're going to spend too much time looking back. We
Right.
can't look back and say, oh, you know, like it was in the past. No, it's like it's gonna look like when we're moving forward.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, and those are things that you learn, right? You learn through experience, and those of us that are over 30, that's why we're doing this, is we want to share these real life experiences through our stories and our anecdotes, and you know, they've always been asking. I know that people have always been asking you questions, and people have been asking me for quite a while. And I just thought, this is why we're doing this, because we're bringing together two viewpoints, two experiences, two different approaches sometimes. But what we both talked about is we want to help people. And just because, you know, millionaire mindsets, you're not there yet, doesn't mean that you can't incorporate those attitudes and mindsets. Because it is, you use this word quite often ever since we reconnected. You say this a lot, and it really is imprinting. It's a mindset. So just because you're not a millionaire yet doesn't mean that you shouldn't have the millionaire mindset.
Right.
And take some actual, these are real actionable steps that you can take. If you go down your list of everything that you pay out every month, and if you haven't negotiated or fired and replaced everyone on that list, I think you're doing yourself a disservice, because that's what a CEO would do.
That's right. That's what the CEO looks at, the health of the company. If you want to compare a CEO, like if you want to look at what we're the CEOs of our bodies. We are assessing what's wrong with our bodies. Where, you know, if we're not feeling well, we have to make those decisions to adapt so that we can perform at a higher peak. So that's what we're consistently trying to do. It's like an athlete. An athlete has to be, at all points, has to be firing on all pistons. We have to be firing off at all pistons. Our businesses have to be firing off at all pistons. Right. You know, when you're a business owner or the decision maker, you're like a firefighter. There's always going to be problems, and when there's not a problem, the next one is on its way. I promise you. It's just the way it is.
I love it because you're being real. I mean, we're not sugarcoating anything. We're not being pessimistic. It's being practical and pragmatic. So I love that.
Well, we have to be. I mean, Carmen, if it weren't, and we're not sharing this knowledge, then no one here is going to learn from it. So I think that it's important that we're real with it. With our life experience, and the way that we can share is because we have examples to show that. I didn't get to where I'm at because I woke up one day and said, hey, I wish I was where I was at. It took a lot of hard work, a lot of tears, and it takes vulnerability. It takes strength, inner strength. The world comes at us every day. The minute you wake up, you right off the bat, you wake up at 100%. That's what your rest is supposed to be. But the minute you open your eyes, consider 10 to 20% gone, because the first problems have already hit your mind. So now you're running at 80.
For you.
Yeah, you're running at 80 to 90%, and then by the time you hit noon, you've already probably gone down to like 70, 60, between 80 and 60%. And then by midday, you got to have a coffee so that you can wake up and or get something to pep you up. And then by that time, so that's part of why my rituals in the morning are: I wake up in the morning, and the first thing I go do is go hit the gym, so that the gym can re-energize me, and I can put all the negative, I can balance the negative thoughts with positive. Okay. And then by the time I hit the streets or start doing my first business meetings, I hit it strong. That's why I also, in my business, I try to stay away from meetings or phone calls until after 10 o'clock in the morning. So I always tell people I'm available after 10 a.m. People don't ask why, but that's really what it is because unless I really, really have to get up or handle business, I'm already dealing with my own situations from the minute I wake up till about 10 a.m. Hopefully things have balanced off. And then I can start hitting new business development, new things, because from, in our certain industries, construction industry specifically, they start at 6 o'clock in the morning. So imagine from 6 to 10, that's 4 hours. Some people are barely waking up at 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and I'm already in 3 hours of worth of work. So by the time noontime comes, I'm already in a half day. or 6 hours of work.
Right.
And I'm already, by the time somebody goes to, the 9 to 5, they start their 9 to 5, lunchtime. I mean, by that time, I've already accomplished so much more. So, and if you add that, you multiply that by every day and then yearly, how many more hours of productivity you get out of yourself, healthy productivity,
right.
Then it starts to really, you start to see the impact and the effects. Right. So, yeah, that's just, but you have to have that routine and you have to have that discipline. And don't get me wrong, there's days like yesterday and today, I'm waking up and I'm like, because the world is pulling at us right now. And I'm like, and I get frustrated because I don't feel that things are happening as quick as I want them to. Now,
yes, I understand.
The key word is that needs to come out of all this is patience. We have to learn patience, and we have to learn to master patience, because that's just the way it is. I can't explain it any further. You got to have faith. You got to have faith in yourself, and you got to be patient, because that's just the way the world is. I wish everything was mañana, right now, boom, 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 but it just doesn't happen that way.
Especially right now. I think, well, like, I know that we're running a little bit over, but I think this is really some good stuff. And I do want to acknowledge, James Moore, he says, critical thinking is not taught in school or in life because the world needs followers. Everyone wants to take a safe path. Yeah. And I think that I'm not totally disagreeing with that. I think that there is something to that. An entrepreneur, in my opinion, is definitely not a follower, and neither is a CEO.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just think that there's something that there.
To add to that, Carmen, a CEO makes decisions, but and what he follows is the advice of his advisors. But his advisors are also leaders. There's like the board of directors. Those are accomplished people. Those are former CEOs. So you're getting them. You're in the like-mind room. So that's why they say power of association. If you want to have a successful company, you got to be around other successful people or that think like that. I've been reading a lot of posts that have been coming through, and they're talking about, like, for example, Twitter today said that all their employees can work at home. Now, okay, great, but I think in the long run that's a bad idea. Why? Because people need to have social interaction. You think, when you think like a team and you're in groups of a team, like a pack, that's where all the great ideas come out. If you think that I want to do this, like literally, I'm gonna have a phone call every day and from my house, like I don't want to be home. This is like, for me, my home is my sanctuary. I don't want to do my work from home. I want to go out to my office because I've been conditioned that way. I want to go in my office where I go do work because that's where my triggers kick in. And then when I come home, I want to be able to put, not have the laptop here at the house. I want to sit I want to sit and decompress. Right. And that's what, and I want to be able to go to sleep in peace. Not, okay, one more time, let me make one more call, blah, blah, blah. Because there's been moments when I'm on build mode, I will go neurotic, and I'll go till like 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and then it's on, right. But that's just, but.
No, and yeah, I mean, these are, those are decisions where people have to just take a look at everything is changing. And so we do have to think about all these things, because part of being a CEO of your life is figuring out what works for you that makes you the best person, leader that you are, and also what works for you in balance. And maybe that's a topic that we'll really dive into next week or the following week. I do want to give a quick shout out, because we always talk about, and I think people are listening to you, Mauricio, you always say your 3 things, which are
decide, commit, execute.
Right. And that is exactly what Monique did last week when I talked about the money that I was saving on my business insurance. I hadn't even tackled my car insurance yet, because for me, I don't do it all. I don't make all those phone calls and get into those negotiations all at the same time, because it's exhausting.
Oh, I was on the phone with Comcast for 2.5 hours.
Exactly. And I was, you know, and I'm helping my housekeepers that work with me in my other business. I'm helping them through this, right?
Yeah.
So I was on the phone one time for 3.5 hours, and I don't even know how I survived that. But that I'm off the point.
Sure.
But I wanted to give a shout out to Monique. You know Monique from Props to See.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I love them so much. But yeah, she heard what I had done with the business insurance last week, that I saved a bunch of money there. And she reached out to me. I connected her to my gal. They took care of it. I heard from them yep, she was able to save her a lot of money. So those are the things for me. Those are the CEO attitudes. And okay, I heard something that might help me. I'm going to just do it.
You just reminded me. I got to call my insurance tomorrow. Yeah. I am. Those suckers are charging me way too much money, and I'm not even driving my car right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Try Metro Mile.
All right. Yeah. No. So again, these are the things that we need to share with people, because these are the tricks, or not even tricks. These are just the things that successful people do. The reason why people are successful is because they know how to manage themselves, their money, and how to navigate through changing times, you know. And that's just the way it is. When you gotta cut the fat off the company, because if not, you're gonna sink. You're gonna learn how to cut the fat real quick. So
real quick. And it's not personal. Like I did make the mistake when I was younger, where I would stay with people because, I have this relationship with them. But when something went wrong on their end, that relationship wasn't two ways. I learned that real quick. It's business.
Hey, when they cut people's jobs, you're just a number in the HR department. You're not. They don't know that Mauricio Mejia has, you know, kids, a family, or, you know, or what I have. They don't know what, you know, that the lady that's given them 30 years, you know, the mom that has kids that has given them 30 years, you know. This was the only thing that she did. So this is why I always tell people, you got to have more than one form of income. You got to do your 9 to 5 if that's what it is you do, and then find a part-time of something that can bring you that addition that you want to feel passionate, whether it's whatever. You gotta. That's a question that anybody individually has to answer. Once you find that go after it, because I promise you put enough hours into it, it will return. It'll give you something. But, you know, again, people sometimes like to go where the least, you know, the path of least resistance, you know.
Absolutely.
And that's just not who I am. I want to go into the fire and be ready for the fire, because I like the fire. That's I like it. I like the challenge.
Right.
So,
well, I think, you know, it's something that we started out with in our first show, which was 4 weeks ago. And we dove right in, and we did propose this idea for some people that had never heard about it before, is negotiate your credit cards, negotiate your loans. This is the time to do it. And if I'm repeating myself, but I think it's really important, because sometimes it takes a number of times for it to sink in, you know, and this is the time right now to negotiate every bill that you pay, from your landlord to utilities, your loans, your credit cards. Even if it's some little bit that's going to help you right now, isn't that time? Well, you know, aren't you worth that time?
I'm going to tell you right now, there's I have a friend that works for the housing authority, and they have data that's they're collecting data, and in 1 month they've collected so much data that people are negotiating for the first time in this valley, rents are going to go down 3%. Now, 3% doesn't sound like a lot, but 3%, like let's say you're paying $3,000 for a place. Well, 3%, it's $100 off. If you think about it, that's $1,200 a year. You know, so that's $100 that you can invest
negotiate in yourself.
Yeah, $100, you know, goes somewhere else, you know. But and that's just they don't even have the data for a quarter yet. This is only 1 month. This is the first time ever that the index has gone down, and it's just because the impact that this pandemic has created, and then, you know, the amount of lost jobs. So You know, the other thing too, to stay in order, I think what's kept me positive right now too, and just real healthy minded and strong minded is I turned off the news. I'm not watching it. I'll maybe read the highlights because I choose to, but you turn on that TV and that thing sucks you. It's designed to suck you in, and there's so much information. Whether you're listening to CNN, Fox, I mean, all the different networks, and even social media. I mean, I started just calming it down because I mean, it can suck you in really quick. And
I don't even have. I'll watch TV. I mean, I'll watch movies on my TV. I don't even have my TV installed. I just gave that up a long time ago.
Yeah,
that's my personal choice.
Yeah,
because I'd rather be doing a lot of other things than watching TV and getting bombarded by that negativity because I'm super sensitive. But I know it's 7:45. We should probably wrap this up.
Yep.
Real quick though, I think if you come away with today's topic, it's shop your vendors and don't be afraid to fire them. Find another company who values your business, like I did with my car insurance. But also, we should talk about what you're doing tomorrow night before we let everything go.
Well, my shows are starting to ramp up. I'm starting to book a lot of talent on my show. So tomorrow night I have a good friend of mine used to live here in the Bay Area, Shervin Ruvparvar, and he's one of the stars on the Shaws of Sunset, and he's an entrepreneur. So just because he's this star on the show doesn't mean he doesn't have other businesses. And that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. So what I'm doing is I'm bringing through my network all the different entrepreneurs and people that I know and have them share their stories. And I haven't confirmed the date yet, but it's confirmed he is going to be on my show. But I'm going to have Stedman joining me, and that one's going to be fun because, well, one, high level, right? But it's just exciting, and you'll see the bond that we have. But I have him, and then every week, the following week, I have another very successful entrepreneur, Ruben Rosendez, and every week I'm going to just try to keep it going so that and bring these entrepreneurs or people that are experienced in different industries so that we can share and have that conversation. I mean, it's exciting. I'm going to start posting all the people that are coming up as soon as I start confirming. I got all of May and half of June already done, and I want to get it all done because all the promotion is going to start coming out. So that's
exciting. I'm so excited. And then, that is our goal here too. We're just, we're building the infrastructure. We're going to be doing that as well because we're coming at it from different perspectives. So I just want to thank everyone who stayed with us this entire time. There were quite a few of you, so thank you. And, we'll get in there and answer some questions. It's hard to do both. Like, I'm a pretty good multitasker, but I'm just not that good on this because I'm trying to figure out what time it is and, all of that. So, but we do appreciate it. We hope that what we're sharing with you is helping you in some way, even if it's only to say that you got this and you're not alone.
That's right.
We're trying to help you. We're trying to just impart some of the lessons that we've learned. You don't need to learn the same lessons that we already both learned. And we'll dive into these, with more stories. And we really appreciate you being here with us. We want you to have a good night, and we'll see you next Tuesday at 7 o'clock.
Yes, thank you very much. Make sure to share this video with everyone and invite friends to come and join us. This is a weekly conversation every Tuesday, 7 p.m. And it seems like it's going to be part of our routine moving forward.
I think so. I love it. I mean, this is like really good for us too, I have to say, because I get to talk to you in person like this.
Yeah.
But
we're good.
We're going to grow this, and it's supposed to be fun too. It's not just all doom and gloom. So thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Mauricio. I'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody.